Much like many others, in a far distant land, there reigns a mountain range so grand it touches the sky and graces the clouds with their imposition. Among these mountains stands tall one of the greatest to ever exist, Mount BattleHammer. It's a natural, grey statue with a gradient of a lush, verdant forest at its base that shifts to a chilling blizzard as you trace to the top. The trek to the top is great. It is said the view will steal your breath before the altitude. Below the peak live the great people, wealthy, prideful, welcoming. The people are what made Mount BattleHammer so great under the protecting watch and guidance of the BattleHammer family. For generations, there was nothing but prosperity. Deep within the summit lie caverns and mines for the sole purpose of profit. You couldn't look anywhere without the walls being so practically gilded, pits so deep and lined with enough crystals and precious stones to look like you were peering into a kaleidoscope. But my words can they describe the true beauty and experience that is Mount BattleHammer. You might be wondering how I know this information. While my words may seem biased to some, as Kripke BattleHammer, I will ensure that they are true. I remember being in the pub. It was a good place to get community and a show, whether planned or not, depending on how much the others drank. I ordered a good old pint before settling into a booth across the way from the bar, the mug making a thud while the ale was tsunami inside. I sat for some time, listening to my people and enjoying some company here and there. One of the miners from deep below arrived, which was unusual for their schedule. Upon a second look, he seemed worried. Panic was on his face as he shouted for help, with more miners arriving just behind and just as scared. They claimed to have awoken something deep within the mountain and that it had already stolen the lives of a few. With no hesitation, I of course readied myself to help, and a few others volunteered to assist. I grabbed my great axe and warhammer before regrouping with the others. We took a makeshift elevator made from wood platforming and rope to descend down the sparkling and gilded caverns. It creaked and shook as we went, but held true nonetheless. The gems were still breathtaking, even in the heat of the moment. They were like windows into another world, rivers of pastels and colors you didn't know existed. I've wondered if they compare to stories behind the beauty of something called the Astral Sea. We reached the bottom. The elevator's thud echoed within the wide cavern. It's quite dark considering the mining team hadn't gotten the chance to set up many lights yet. One with proficiency in the arcane decided to take lead since they could easily light the cave. After a few steps in, simultaneously, the rest of us followed behind, and the deep guttural sound made its way from deeper within. It shook the area around us like an earthquake, with debris falling from the ceiling. A tail-like form emerged within the blink of an eye and whipped around erratically even faster. A few of the party were whipped to the walls, myself included, while others were taken by the shadow, their echoing screams the last thing to be heard from them. I was bashed into a part of the wall where some debris had left cracks open. My axe had gotten wedged, so I tried to retrieve it. When I couldn't pull it out, I tried to hammer it out. Nailing my axe into the wall left tremors resonating everywhere. A mad screech coming from within the cavern only added more to the fright and confusion within the moment. A loud crack could be heard overhead as more, larger debris started to fall. I imagined to finally retrieve my axe, chipping it in the process, before regrouping with the other survivors at the elevator. The screeching from before sounded as though it was coming closer and closer, along with the falling debris becoming larger and larger. The large shadow emerged just before getting slammed by boulders cascading from above. There were no more screeches after that. The elevator started as we ascended while the rest of the cave was happening. Us few survivors made it to see the faces of those waiting for us at the top. The faces of the people were quick to fall as we slowly rose from below. However, the loss did not deter them from celebrating those who made it back. In the same place we were called to action, we held a grand feast of prosperity and honor of those we lost. I was deemed the defining factor for our victory, even though I tried to persist humility. Life seemed to move on as normal, with a few exceptions. I became something akin to a folk hero. I wasn't sure what that meant, or how to be one, but I tried to best represent my home in the end. I was sent as an ambassador of sorts to neighboring cities, ports, as well as a whole slew of other places. My tour of the surrounding lands was peaceful and beautiful. I met many nice people and saw more than I had ever before. The trip lasted a few weeks, and so I was very excited to get back home. As I returned to my home, there was nobody at the base of the mountain to greet me. I found that strange. As I made the trek there, still were no signs of anyone anticipating my arrival. Perhaps it will make for a good surprise. I finally made it to the top, but there was still no one. I checked every nook and searched every cranny, even in the mines, which brought back poor memories. Still, no one. Much was left behind, if not everything. There didn't seem to be a single struggle either. Did everyone just stop and leave? Did they plan this while I was gone? Did they think of me as a fraud? That disgraced BattleHammer? It was an accident. Dumb luck. I didn't want to be labelled as the hero. I tried to let things move forward, but that cave-in keeps coming back. And now my people are gone and I don't know where to. I don't know if they abandoned me or were taken. They must have been taken. My people don't run. My people don't hide. I vow to find who took them, and I don't care how long it takes. It's been some time since then. I have been traveling since that day, taking jobs where I can to keep me on my feet. That's how I ended up here with you. One of my adventures included royalty, an interesting swordsman, and a fish lady. But that is a story for a different time. I'm still looking for my people. I haven't found much to where my people could be, but I will find them. Thanks for letting me take your time. Stay safe.